How hard is tech sales really at the end of the day? Is it super difficult? Is it actually super easy? Am I gonna wanna quit in 6 months after I get started? Don't worry, guys, we're gonna answer all these questions right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's Noah Kaprick here, aka still the best dressed man in tech sales. And this video today is going to center on the question of how difficult, how hard is tech sales at the end of the day? So, without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, guys, so when it comes to answering the question of how difficult is tech sales or how hard is tech sales, I want to just be super transparent. After being in this field for 9 years, it is very hard, okay? It's difficult. There's no sugarcoating that. It's not easy, all right? And today in this video, what we're gonna do is break down 4 reasons, specifically why tech sales is difficult and why it can be a little bit difficult, especially in the beginning. So let's go ahead and start breaking down some of these reasons so that way you can walk away with an understanding of how hard is tech sales really if you want to get into this industry. All right, guys, so reason number 1 on why tech sales is difficult is because, first and foremost, you have to be intelligent and interesting around seasoned business people. And when I say seasoned, I mean some people you might be speaking to or selling to have probably been in business longer than you've been alive, right? And so how do we become interesting and intelligent and keep the attention of somebody that's been in business longer than us, right? This is something I really faced a lot early in my career because I started doing tech sales when I was 22. And I mean, I was selling to executives, guys who are in their 40s, 50s, some in their 60s, and they literally were in business longer than I was alive. So how do we come across as intelligent, credible, or how do we even make them take us seriously? These were real things that I had to deal with at the beginning of my career. And believe it or not, when I moved to Boston and got my first promotion, I started meeting clients in person. And I purposely grew out my facial hair just so they would think I was older. Straight up, no joke. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we face, especially if you are a young person, maybe coming out of college or even coming out of high school, getting into tech sales. You're going to face a little bit of a challenge of getting credibility, getting taken seriously, and trying to elevate your presence in terms of not just being viewed as a young and dumb sales rep. Because oftentimes, if we are young especially, it's very easy for seasoned business leaders to kind of write us off or not take us that serious. So that's the first challenge we're going to deal with, guys, is we have to be interesting and intelligent to seasoned business executives who have been around, maybe doing business way longer than we've been alive. So that's the first big challenge that you may or may not face in tech sales. All right, guys, reason number 2 why is tech sales so difficult is because it requires a delicate balance between nurturing and creating relationships while also pursuing and progressing a sales cycle. What exactly do I mean? Let me break it down. So when it comes to nourishing and creating a relationship, obviously people buy from people, and we know that people are more likely to buy from someone that they actually enjoy doing business with or they like being around, right? So on one hand, we have to get to know a person, then we have to build trust with that person, make sure that they see us as credible, and then at the same time, we have to kind of be a little businessy and make sure they see the value in what we're doing, that there's an outcome that they're interested that we can help them create. And then we have to convince other people in the organization that this is the right path to go down and actually move towards signing the contract. So there's a lot of multitasking, if you will, that has to be done. And it's a really fine balance between nurturing that relationship, but also making sure you're focused on their business and helping them produce results with your solution. So very much at the beginning of the sales cycle, what I try to do is really just to get to know the person, right? And we're talking about personal stuff, we're talking about who they are. That way they can get to know me a little bit, right? Because people need to do business with people they trust. Trust is a prerequisite doing any sale in business. So without that trust, you're kind of screwed, right? So that's really difficult, especially if you've never been in sales before, if you don't have a lot of business experience. You might just be trained to push the sale, right? And that's gonna get you nowhere, you'll find, because you haven't nourished that relationship. You haven't cultivated trust. You're just pushing your product. So that's a really sticky but interesting situation to be in sales is, how do I nourish that relationship but also get the deal done? So that's reason number 2 why sales or tech sales in particular is very difficult. All right, guys, reason number 3 why tech sales is difficult is because you have a quota to hit in a relatively short amount of time, right? So you might have a monthly quota, quarterly quota, annual quota, but even if it's 12 months, right? If you're expected to sell $1 million worth of software in 12 months, that's not that much time, right? For someone to write a check for $1 million, it's gonna take you a minute to do that, right? So that's probably the most difficult thing about software sales and tech sales in general is because you have that pressure of the quota. So not only do we have to do our job every day, but we have that mental anxiety and or pressure to remind ourselves, hey, there's a number to hit at the end of the day. and it's easier said than done, right? So that's probably the third most difficult thing about tech sales, and why it's hard is because you have the pressure of that number, and it's not necessarily clear how you're going to make that number, especially on day one. So a lot of uncertainty with that kind of makes the job a little bit more difficult. All right, guys, reason number 4 why tech sales is so difficult is because, believe it or not, it requires a lot of discipline, okay? Discipline and really strong time management skills. So for example, what I mean is, if you are not disciplined enough to do the things day in and day out and follow a process to get your results, you most likely will fail, right? If you're just opening up your laptop every day and just winging it, or just answering emails or being very reactive to your business, you're probably not going to hit the results that you want to get, right? If you find great sellers and average sellers, the great sellers have a process. They have something they do every single time that's repeatable, sustainable, and it works, okay? That's the difference between good and great in sales. And again, it's also very difficult, right? Because discipline, to cultivate that quality, it takes a lot of effort, and you have to be willing to do things you don't want to do all the time. And that is very hard, right? Just imagine making yourself take a cold shower every day. It's not something you want to do, but you do it because you know it's good for you and it's going to bring you a certain result. That's kind of how sales is. You don't like to do cold calling. You don't like to reach out to prospects all the time. You don't like to do these things. We don't wake up crazy to do it. But we want the results. We want that quota to be hit. We want to make club. We want to get that big commission check. We want to get promoted, whatever it is. So we create a process and we stick to that process so that we can manifest those results that we want, okay? But that is really difficult, and it's easier said than done, you guys. So that's why tech sales is so difficult at the end of the day, is because it really requires us to be disciplined and have strong time management skills, so we're not wasting time on low ROI activities, all right? So that's reason number 4, you guys. Why is tech sales so hard? Because it's really something that requires discipline from everybody. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and recap at this point the 4 specific reasons that we went through on why tech sales is so difficult. Number 1, we have to be interesting and intelligent around people who have been in business way longer than us, right? We might be in our 20s, and we have to talk and hold the attention of some executive who's been in business for 30 years, right? A lot easier said than done. So that's number 1, why tech sales is so difficult. Number 2, we talked a little bit about the need to balance the relationship, right? Nurturing that relationship while also pushing a sales cycle. So that's a delicate balance of you developing and getting to know your buyer with trust, right? Or getting to develop trust, I should say, while also progressing a sales cycle, doing the things you need to do to convince everybody that this is the best path to take. So that's a difficult balance we have to learn how to maintain and play with as well. And that's reason number 2, why tech sales is so difficult. Now, reason number 3 that we talked about is we got that quota pressure, right? We have a number that we have to hit in a relatively short amount of time, and it's really uncertain as to how we're gonna hit it, right? So that's reason number 3. And then last but not least, reason number 4, we talked about the need to be disciplined and be a master with your time management. That way you're not just being reactive to your business, but you're actually managing your time and spending it well on the things that will actually help you hit your number and get the results that you want. So those are the reasons, guys. All right, so there you have it. I hope this gives you a little bit of clarity on specifically why tech sales is a difficult field and it is not the easiest job. Do not just come in here thinking you're gonna bank a bunch of money. Trust me, you have to go through the steps. You have to fall on your face. You have to fail a little bit. But I promise you this, if you stick it out and you really give it your all, you can be wildly successful beyond your dreams and really make money into the high 6 figures, even make millions of dollars. So I'll say that. But either way, guys, hope you enjoyed the content today. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below. Also, if you're not doing so already, please follow me on LinkedIn. And if you want more content on sales training or how to level up in your sales profession, go ahead and join us at the B2B Syndicate, where we're giving people modern, actionable sales advice to actually crush your quota. All right, with that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Enjoy.